I happen to be his wife. So am I. Ladies, please! Hello, huge movie fanatic Nate coming at you yet again for a review of the movie and Blu-ray of the smashingly not so fantastic sequel to Trancers by the name of Trancers 2, The Return of Jack Deth. And as always, I'm going to review the movie, and then I will, if I remember, which hopefully I will review the Blu-ray of this particular release, lovingly released by Full Moon Features on Blu-ray. So Trancers 2, The Return of Jack Deth, came out I don't know how many years after the original. The original was like 85, 86, this came out in 91. So I was aware of this movie, obviously, when it came out, but I had never seen Trancers at the time, so I wasn't interested in Trancers 2, of course. It didn't look interesting to me. I was more into horror movies and stuff at that time, so it was all about Puppet Master 2, stuff like that. Even I didn't see Shadow Zone until later, but Seed People I saw back in the early 90s, stuff like that. Having just, I got this on Amazon probably for maybe $11, $12, $13 or something like that. So I was actually very excited about it because it, well, I'll just briefly say one of the reasons I got this Blu-ray is because it's actually got commentary by Charlie Band, Tim Thomerson, and Megan Ward, which is very cool. So anyway, on to the review of the movie. So, having rewatched it last night, this is the second time I watched the Blu-ray. I got it months ago and just rewatched it last night. It's nowhere, I think it's a lot of filler personally in my opinion. Basically the premise is, what's his name? Richard Lynch is the brother of the bad guy, whatever the hell his name was, I forgot, from the first Trancers movie. He goes back down the line to Los Angeles, he was probably there before that, 1991, but at any rate, he's there in 1991 and runs this, I don't know, loony bin / farm by the name of Green World, I think it's called, and basically, long story short, he's basically making a Trancer farm. I don't exactly, even though I saw it last night, I don't exactly remember the whole reasoning behind the Trancers farm, obviously just to make and breed and do whatever make Trancers. But at any rate, David Lynch is fantastic pretty much in everything he does. He's a fantastic baddie. He was just recently at the time in, of course, as the bad guy in Puppet Master 3 the same year. So he's basically kidnaps homeless people, brings them back to his loony bin / farm, Green World or whatever, to make into Trancers. So that's kind of the plot, and basically one of the cool, unfortunately this movie, by the time this movie came out, Danny Bilson and Paul DeMeo were on to bigger and better things. They've already done frickin' the Flash TV show, and they've already done Rocketeer at this point, so obviously they were not going to be a part of writing Trancers 2, so I can't remember who ended up writing it. It's original story by Jackson Barr and Charlie Band, and I guess Jackson Barr was the writer. So, one of the cooler aspects to this movie is, I don't know how much of this was covered in the first Trancers movie, but Jack Deth's in the first Trancers movie, before it even starts, Jack Deth's wife I think had been killed. I can't remember if it was by a Trancer, I imagine, whatever. But one of the cool aspects of this movie is the fact that, cool and kind of lame at the same time, that Jack Deth is, of course, living in, his ancestor's body. He just kind of took this guy's identity, and, the guy, that's kind of, they could have probably done some funny things with the fact that that guy, the ancestor that he took over his body, you think his work or people he knew would, be calling him or whatever. That would have been funny. So it turns out that, the people in the future, who Jack Deth works for or whatever, I can't remember a lot of this was explained just in boring dialogue scene. Basically, this is so kind of weird to me, because in the future they went back in time to right before, I guess because Jack Deth was gone down the line in the past, maybe they wanted Jack Deth back, into present time in the future, so I think they went back in time. This is really weird to me. And they contact right before, I don't know if it was 48 hours or something like that. I can't remember. It was a day or something before his wife died. They went back in time to a day before she died to recruit her for this mission to basically send her consciousness back in time, obviously into a young 19-year-old Megan Ward body, to I think persuade Jack to come back into the future. If I remember correctly, I'm not too sure. I'm not really good at, like, understanding plot points if it's merely just spoken out. I like to see things unravel, see things happen versus just hear them happen. I'm just really not so good with, unless I hear it over and over and over many times. Like, I only seen this movie, twice this year or whatever. So I don't know. If I'm getting the plot wrong, it doesn't really matter. But that's the basic gist of it. So I kind of like the idea of bringing his, former wife back into the mix. Of course, this is right after Crash and Burn, and it's said that Charlie Band was probably kind of smitten with this young Megan Ward at the time, which is kind of understandable. She had just done Crash and Burn for Charlie, so obviously he probably told, whoever wrote this movie, it was probably part of his idea to write Megan Ward into it, which was a kind of a good idea to have his wife be, his actual former wife in the future become a part of it, and which kind of makes a love triangle. By this time, Helen Hunt, which is Lena, and Jack Deth are now married, and then his former wife, not knowing that she ended up dead like a day later, gets, so she just thought that she, life was doing whatever, and then she just thought she never knew that she died. And that's kind of the coolest thing about this movie, is that, of course we never get to see what Jack Deth's wife actually looked like, because we just see her inhabiting Megan Ward's body, which of course just inconveniently happens to be, or is it it's just kind of lame how it just happens to, she just happens to be at this green world nut house just by chance. Is that am I understanding that correctly, or was that planned? Anyway, I can't remember how she ended, if the body was already at the nut house, or if she got caught on purpose to, I don't know, whatever. Anyway, in my opinion, long story short, this movie's it starts off really, I don't know, kind of boring. This Hap Ashby guy, I don't know, they don't even explain this, became some kind of rich, multi-millionaire guy. He's got this Playboy mansion and shit, and Jack Deth and Lena are living with him to kind of protect him in case they send more Trancers after him. Like, in the meantime, this guy's supposed to, screw, obviously, have a kid, so the city council, he's not screwing anyone, he's just drunk in this mansion, so I don't know what's going on. It's just kind of contrived nonsense just for a sequel, is what it kind of feels like to me, unfortunately. One of the kind of cool things about this movie is that girl who played, the 1980s and now 91 version of his boss, the police chief or whoever, obviously has aged, and she's kind of hot in this movie. She's got these leggings on, and this top, and she's but she fills out rather nicely, and she's got this, before, what's her name, Rose from Titanic, I can't even remember her name right now, so whatever. She kind of reminds me of a young version of her, whatever her name is. I can't remember her name, what it is, but you know who I'm talking about, Rose from Titanic. But yeah, that girl ended up being kind of cute, man. And the outfit she wears in this movie is kind of hot. And she never actually changes the outfit throughout the whole movie. And I think it takes place in more than one day, so that's kind of weird. But yeah, I'm of the opinion she chose that outfit because, yeah, she looks pretty good in it. But and then you've got, which is something that I've talked about before in reviews, about which review was it? Oh, Pit and the Pendulum. You've got Jeffrey Combs in another one of these lame-ass, insulting, really minuscule supporting roles as one of the bad guys, as Richard Lynch's, one of his henchmen. You also got this woman who used to play, it was in Bond movie or whatever, and played one of the bad guys in the first couple Superman movies. Jeez, you get it right. There's a lot of faces in this, famous faces, not so famous, but kind of famous faces and stuff. But one thing that I want to mention is Helen Hunt's character was an intricate part of the first movie and this one. There's really no point to Helen Hunt even being there. Of course, she's not a star yet, so they can get her. They might as well just get her and have her in it. But she's really not an integral part of the plot, and she ends up just disappearing, running, or, she's jealous because of her and his future wife, which is now inhabiting a 19-year-old girl's body, and it's just like, so she ends up just like driving away. She's gonna like just not be there for a few days and ends up being kidnapped at the end, and just, I don't know, a lot of kind of nonsense, unfortunately, in Trancers 2. You know, I get basically one of the new things in this movie is this tap back, this box. It can actually send like this box, this two-seater box, back to the past physically, and you're supposed to, like, it takes two people and you're supposed to get in it, and since Jack Deth's real body in the future has been uninhabited for so long, it's just like kind of rotting, so he can't go back up the line like with the serum. He's got to actually physically come back. I can't remember why they want him to physically come back. I'm sure it's some good reason, but at any rate, that's one of the plot points of this movie, which of course at the end, yeah, Jack ends up choosing Helen Hunt over Megan Ward and sending Megan Ward's character back. And funnily and strangely, because if she takes the serum, she'll die, so that's the excuse why she's going back in the new body. So that, and really, I mean, all these people from the future, like, kidnapping these people's bodies when they go back in time and take these people's consciousnesses over, they stay in them for the rest of their lives. They're just kidnapping these people. Maybe that's what happens when people disappear. Like, their ancestors from the future are coming back and inhabiting their bodies and going back into the future into little two-seater time travel devices. But anyway, more or less underwhelming. Trancers 2, I'm going to give it 1 1/4 star out of 4 stars. It's mostly just, the beginning of it is just starts so slow and is just action for action's sake and nonsensical stuff, and it's just like, one thing unlike the first one, in my opinion, where it starts off strong and gets weaker as it goes on. This is kind of like the opposite. Not that it gets very strong at all ever in the movie, but I do kind of like the ending at the barn and the lame ass having the tractor drag the little, horse trough out and having them do John Woo shooting and stuff like that. Helen Hunt and Megan Ward seeming very uncomfortable doing these shootouts and stuff. It's just kind of funny. So whatever, 1 1/4 star out of 4 for Trancers 2. I didn't think the first one was all that great, and the second one's even less great. So, and on to the Blu-ray of Trancers 2, The Return of Jack Deth. The Blu-ray is actually probably better looking than the original, the original Blu-ray for Trancers. I mean, the Blu-ray for oh my God, let's try this again. The Blu-ray of Part 2 looks better probably than the Blu-ray for the original Trancers movie, Trancers. This is unbelievable, and Full Moon, I think, as they go on, like, are getting much better at making Blu-rays. Like, the transfer of this is something that, Arrow Video or Criterion would be hard pressed to try to top. The transfer of Trancers 2, transfer of Trancers 2, I'm just making sure I'm saying the correct words, is nothing short of phenomenal. And unlike the first one, which I don't know if that was originally in mono or stereo when it came out, as I said in the Trancers review, unlike the first one and so many, unfortunately, of the early Full Moon Blu-rays, this one is supposed to have, the the 2-channel stereo and 5.1, I think. Yeah. And as always, of course, I only watched the 2-channel stereo. I can confirm that this is in fact stereo, which is good because back in the early 90s and mid 90s they had pretty good, ultra stereo tracks back in the day. So it's nice to have, port them over to the, the fantastic high definition Blu-ray version when at all possible. And it's kind of a bummer when it doesn't happen. So image and sound, I'm just talking about the 2-channel sound. I've never, as I've said in all these reviews, I've never listened to any of these Full Moon movies on the actual 5.1 system. I don't really plan to. I can't imagine they're much to brag about, but I'm not really, I'm kind of a purist, so these movies originally came out in just, if anything, 2-channel stereo anyway, so all I really need to experience them in is 2-channel stereo anyway. one of the strong points about this Blu-ray, and one of the things I was so excited about, is it actually features, as I think I've already mentioned, an audio commentary with Charlie Band, Tim Thomerson, and Megan Ward, which I was just so excited to listen to, and having re-listened to it last night. It's pretty dynamite. It's kind of cool. There's this one scene where he's at this place, and he's questioning people with this, the forklift scene and stuff like that. Switch to the commentary for that scene. Jack Deth, I was going to say, Tim Thomerson's a hoot. He's the laugh riot. He's funny. And Megan Ward actually, unfortunately, doesn't really contribute anything to the commentary any more than just like being being kind of repulsed by her acting and her appearance on screen. And she's kind of just hard on herself, of course, and kind of just, which is kind of weird. So she doesn't really contribute anything so much, except for maybe remembering where they filmed certain stuff at, and just reacting to the movie and stuff, and saying like, "You made me say that," and all this and that. But Charlie Band and Tim Thomerson, it's mostly just like a reaction commentary. You really don't hear. I mean, I guess there's facts and stuff. Just like with the first one, Tim Thomerson said that the guy who played Hap Ashby was a Biff Maynard or whatever, was mostly just drunk, if not all the time drunk, while they were filming this movie, which is just lame to me. Oh, the baseball scene, which I just put on the cutting room floor as far as I'm concerned, features like Tim Thomerson's dad, Tim Thomerson's brother. Another scene features Charlie Band's mom and stepmom, and so I mean, there's all kinds of Helen Hunt's dads in this movie. There's a little cameo, and Charlie Band's dad and mom, and Tim Thomerson's dad and brother, and there's all kinds of people in this movie. Hitchcockian cameo by Richard Band himself. So anyway, I'm getting out. What the hell am I doing? I'm just going all over the place. Other features are the original Video Zone featurette, which unfortunately is only the making of Trancers 2 segment of the Video Zone. Back in the day, the Video Zones were, I can't remember if they were almost like 20 minutes long or something like that, and the first thing they'd feature was an intro by Charlie Band, and then they'd do the making of that particular title that was on the VHS tape. Then there'd be other things, just like random interviews with people, trailers, news bits. I think the Pit and the Pendulum Blu-ray or something I recently reviewed had the entire Video Zone, and I was like, thumbs up for that. Unfortunately, this one is only the making of, like I said, portion of the Video Zone, which is kind of bummer. I'd like, for just like retro purposes, I'd like to have the entire Video Zone and see the kind of the stiff Charlie Band early 90s intro, and just all the other nooks and crannies that were featured on the Video Zone at the time. It's now, having been so many years since, it's kind of just nostalgic stuff to have. I imagine that the rare blooper reel that is also included on here was probably a part of the Video Zone, because that's how it was for Pit and the Pendulum, if I'm not mistaken. The bloopers were on the the end of the Video Zone, and also as a separate feature on the Blu-ray to quickly get to them. And it says rare photo gallery, which I didn't look at. And then of course you've got, which it doesn't mention here, trailers for just other random full moon movies, like some of the more recent Garbage and some of the like Puppet Master one stuff. I don't want to say trailers that aren't on here, but there's just some random full moon movie trailers on here as well. So that's basically it. I mean, you can pretty much get this for like, whatever, $10, $11, $12, $13 on Amazon.com right now probably. So once again, just like with Trancers, the commentary is one of the highest points of this particular release. It's absolutely fantastic. When I saw that it was Charlie Band, Tim Thomerson, and Megan Ward all sitting around together, I was like, oh man, they got Megan Ward for commentary. That's so cool. But unfortunately, as I said, her participation is somewhat, limited. So, like I say, it's mostly just a reaction. Like, there's some, factoids here and there, but it's fun to just hear them react to the movie and stuff like that. So whatever, not so recommended movie, but kind of recommended Blu-ray. I mean, it looks fantastic, obviously, if you're a fan of this movie, if you grew up with it, which I did not. This transfer, you're going to absolutely be just so excited about this transfer, and probably about this Blu-ray. Like I've said in other, reviews past of full moon movies and Blu-rays, I'm really loving the fact that they're doing this with their old catalog and movies of the heyday, this high definition, restorations and stuff like that. I think I've said before that this is what I think the best thing that Charlie Band can be doing, and the thing that he should do for the remainder of his life, is just basically give us as many of these older movies from the 90s as you can in the best quality possible, and do these commentaries, and just stop making these movies you're making now. But that's just my opinion. But regardless, I'm glad he's doing this stuff. It's definitely appreciated, and like these Blu-ray releases of these classic old titles. Obviously, titles that I really want to see are Crash and Burn on Blu-ray with can you imagine Crash and Burn commentary with Charlie Band and Megan Ward? That would be very cool. Obviously Robot Wars, I'd love to see, probably since his dad who directed it is no longer with us. Hopefully Charlie Band would do a commentary. I don't know if he'd be able to find any of the other actors to do it. I'm sure the guy who's in Robot Wars, the star, probably wouldn't want to do it, but those are a couple of Full Moon Blu-rays that I'm hoping to see sometime in the future. So, but they continue to roll out, so these Full Moon Blu-rays, so it's kind of exciting. So thank you very much for watching this review of Trancers 2 and movie/Blu-ray review, and as always, we'll catch you on the next video. Thanks for watching.